Welcome to Rapid Fire, a new regular video that I'd like to do for us here. Lately on Instagram, I've really enjoyed giving you guys the opportunity to ask me some questions, and I've responded on Instagram as best as I can. But today's edition, I'm going to do it in video form. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the first question. If you want to partake in sort of the next version of this, make sure you follow me on Instagram. We've got some really big news coming soon, and as soon as we hit sort of a nice little milestone, I'm going to be doing quite a nice little giveaway, so you not want to miss out on that. So, first question. Do I measure cartridge base to the tip, in other words, cartridge overall length, or do I measure base to ogive? Now, personally for me, I like measuring base to ogive. It's more consistent. The inconsistencies between the different tips on the bullets was driving my OCD insane, so base to ogive, spot on every time, all of the time if you're shooting a good bullet. So, good question. Next question. What age should I be to compete? Now, I guess this depends on the type of competition you're doing. If you're shooting a precision rifle style event, there's obviously a little bit more safety that goes along with that because you're moving with a rifle. So check with the organization that you intend on participating in. We've had some pretty young people partake in our matches in the past, but their parents oversee them. As long as they're safe with a firearm, we generally give them a little bit of extra time, because we're all about helping shooters in that way so that they can learn and shoot under safe conditions. So just check with the people beforehand. If you're safe, I'm sure there won't be a problem. Budget scope for matches and hunting. Vortex, Strike Eagle, first focal plane, done. What is your favorite ballistic solver? I use a Hornady 4-Dove Kestrel. It's on the money, especially if you're shooting super far like transonic type of stuff, and I just find the wind solution for me is pretty reliable. With my applied ballistics Kestrel back in the day, I kind of had to use the wind as a guideline. I find my 4-Dove Kestrel pretty freaking spot on all the time. Okay, quite a few of you were asking, because yesterday in my story, I shared a video of me marking the brass as I was reloading for this upcoming match. And you guys were asking, why was I making the red lines on the brass? Now, the reason we do that is when we're shooting matches, if there's somebody else shooting in your squad with the same brass, or at the end of the match, somebody can say, hey, I found a Lapua 6BR case with a red ring on, and I can go, that would be mine. Whereas if more than one person for the day was shooting that, like, whose is it then? So we kind of like to just mark our brass. It's an old little IPSC trick. I don't always do it. I don't do it when I go training, but when we go to matches, I try and mark my cases. They're obviously expensive, and we want to get them back if we can. Next question from Tanner. Have I experienced any feeding issues with my dasher? Yes, I have. In one of our latest videos, you guys would have seen I finally solved my ejection problem, okay, because the case was bouncing off the top of the uni mount back into the action, so that's been fixed. I sometimes still have like a little bit of a double stroke. It's like a mental thing for me, where I sometimes cause my own feeding issues, so I just have to be a little bit more smooth on my bolt and not sort of do that at the end. I don't know why I do that. It's something I started doing, and I'm working really hard to get rid of that. But other than that, the dasher's been okay. Initially, I had to bend in the feed lips a little bit on the MDT mags, but other than that, it's been running freaking butter smooth. So super happy with that. For a beginner shooter, what would you say helps the best with recoil management without silencers and brakes? So recoil management, what you have to realize is that is something you do before the rifle goes bang, okay? You cannot catch your rifle after the shot goes off. So you have to manage recoil by using good position, your rifle to shoulder value, okay, so how much pressure you're actually putting into the rifle. All of those things have to be in place. You have to have a good trigger pull. All the fundamentals need to be in place for you to manage recoil effectively. I've got a whole chapter on that in my Precision Rifle School. And by the way, if you guys use the code IMPACT, you can get 20% off that. We need to do quite a bit of work on the studio still, so that's going to go towards that. So yeah, check out my Precision Rifle School down below. We've had over 500 students go through there. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. I freaking share everything that I can to help you guys shoot better, because at the end of the day, my goal of this channel is to make better shooters all around, so that we all have to be better shooters in order to keep competing with each other. So if you want to check that out, the link for that is going to be down below. Our next question from Ruan. What gun do you shoot? Well, Ruan, that depends. If I'm doing precision rifle style matches, I'm shooting my 6 Dasher that you can see behind me. That is in an MDT XRS Honestly, I feel that that is the best value for money chassis out there at the moment. If you're in South Africa and you're looking for a chassis for your Hawa or something like that, and you're not buying that, unless you want to go to like the 25,000 mark where the sort of ESS and the ACC start to come into effect, that XRS is mwah. I'm going to be doing a separate video for us on the XRS sort of 2.0 with the new and improved things that you can add to it. I feel it adds quite a bit of function, and I'm super excited to run that in a match. And I want to thank you guys for voting that I shoot with the XRS in this weekend's match, because I was hoping you'd vote for the XRS because I really wanted to shoot it in this weekend's match. Obviously for myself, I'm giving myself sort of a bit of a handicap, if you will, because chopping and changing your match rifle between things is probably not the best way to get consistent results, but oh well, we'll shoot this weekend and go back to the ACC for next weekend. So we've got quite a busy schedule with regards to matches in sort of the next 2 weeks. We've got 3 matches in the next 2 weeks. So I've been busy reloading, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can you be competitive with a chassis style stock and a 308? Hell yeah, you can. I was at the, I think it was the 2017 or the 2018 Precision Rifle Finale, and Jim C was right up there with like 2 stages to go shooting a 308. So the caliber is not the deal breaker here. The reason people go down to 6 mils and things like you see behind me is just for a little bit less recoil. It does, however, make you a lazy shooter because you can get away with things that you can't get away with on a 308. For example, not having perfect recoil management every time. You can kind of cheat that a little bit with the 6 mil. So it's definitely more forgiving, not just in recoil management, but in ballistics. But the 308, if you can shoot, you can shoot. And maybe we'll even build a 308 one day. Not at the moment. We've got too many rifles in the works at the moment. But maybe one day we can do a 308 and kind of hammer that point home for us. I think that could be fun. Next question from Miller. How important is dry fire? Now, lately I've been bad with that, sort of the last year and a half. I haven't prioritized it at all. I haven't really been doing it. And I think partly the reason there is I'm shooting a little bit more than most people do. I don't shoot every day, contrary to popular belief, but I shoot at least once a week. So lately just haven't been prioritizing dry fire. And I have actually noticed that that is missing from sort of my training regimen, because I used to be able to go on target, my rifle would be dead steady, and lately it's felt like I had to work. You know, I'm working a lot harder to get my rifle on target and get it still and everything. So I'm definitely looking at adding some dry fire drills back into my training program. Some tips for your first match, Cornell. Okay, I've done a complete video on that, so make sure you check out that video. Would an XRS chassis be good for a 308 Weatherby? You're gonna love the XRS. It's super versatile. The fact that you can swap out the grips and the stuff, it's really awesome. It hasn't let me down yet, and for the money, wow, it's badass. And I like the FDE, but I also like the black. But I'm thinking I might make this one multicam. Let me know in the comments down below if I should do a multicam Cerakote job on this guy. And I also want to encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel and leave a thumbs up. It does help a hell of a lot. What you can also do is leave a question down below. I usually do my best to read all the comments sort of within the first couple of hours after a video comes out. So make sure you leave me a comment down below if you've got another question or perhaps a follow-up question to one of the questions that we have addressed. How far do you normally shoot in NRL, PRS style matches? Now, most of the targets would probably be between sort of the 350 and about 800 meter range. And every now and again, we'll have a target at 150 meters that'll be really small, or we'll have something at like 1,400 meters that's the size of a car's bonnet or a hood, depending on which side of the world you live on. But for the most part, we sort of work in that 400 to 800 area, and that's where you should be relatively, that's where you're going to win or lose the match. You're probably not going to lose the match at the 1,400 meter target, because, you know, if it's a windy day, everyone's probably going to end up missing that guy. But yeah, it's 400 to 800 is not close, especially if you're shooting off weird wobbly things. This is a wonderful question. Is it better to focus on getting hits or completing the stage as a beginner? Well, completing the stage can't win you the match. So hits is where it's at. Okay, so even if you take your 90 seconds or your 2 minutes and you only get 3, you want to make sure that every time you pull that trigger, it should be a hit. It's absolutely pointless to kind of be on target, rip around downrange, and hope that you're going to hit the target. So for me, when I'm shooting, I want to make sure every single time I pull that trigger, I give myself the best possible chance of hitting that plate. Because if I now have to break that position down, build another position, go through that whole process, I might as well have taken 2 more seconds to make sure that I get around on target. So getting hits trumps literally everything else, okay, when it comes to shooting matches. It doesn't matter if you've been shooting matches for 7 years or 7 minutes. Get points, okay, you need those. Okay, good question. What is your favorite do-it-all caliber? And I've done a video on that, what I would build if I sort of had to have one rifle only. If I was to really do it all, I think I'd just go dasher. I could hunt with this, I could shoot long range matches with it, I could shoot NRL, I could mess around with this, my kid can shoot it. I'm really falling in love with this round. If you guys follow me on Instagram, as some of you do, you would have seen the crazy groups this thing's been shooting. And with the app I use, and by the way, a lot of you ask me what app do I use. On iPhone, I use an app called Sub-MOA Pro. And that allows you to sort of measure that group size. And every single group I shoot like quarter MOA, 3/10, you know, it's crazy. This thing is an absolute laser beam.
Arm the laser.
With anything you load in it, that's the frightening bit. It's like not sensitive to load development, nothing, whether I'm fire forming or I'm shooting already fired cases. Everything just goes zunk, zunk, like it's bananas. I've never owned a rifle like this. What's my thought process before starting a stage? This is something we've also got an entire chapter on in the Precision Rifle School, and going through sort of what is your mental checklist, all the things you need to have in place when the RO goes, are you ready, stand by, go. Then we also have sort of a checklist for as you're physically executing every shot, what should you kind of be going through. And we really built the Precision Rifle School to train that into you, that it becomes sort of an unconscious thing. So it's not something you should be consciously thinking of, it's just like, it's part of what you do if you follow it right. So I've got a whole chapter on that in the Precision Rifle School. Again, if you use the code IMPACT, you're gonna get 20% off that. And those proceeds, guys, that we make from that, it goes a hell of a long way to helping run this channel. I cannot stress that enough. Like when we make gun videos on YouTube, like a firearm related video, we make almost no money from YouTube. So between Patreon and YouTube and the shooting school that we do, that's kind of where we make the money for this channel, to make this a viable business. So you guys supporting me on that, really, it means a hell of a lot to us. So thank you so much for the guys that have signed up and given us the awesome feedback on that too. Would you take the same shots and distance what you use in a match to shoot a kudu? Absolutely not. You guys know how I feel about hunting, and I want to get close to animals. I want to shoot them preferably in their head, so that they're instantly on the ground, okay? There is no chance of them running away. There are, unfortunately, so many variables that people don't think of when it comes to shooting an animal at 800 meters. If my bullet's in the air with this rifle, it's gonna take roughly, I haven't run the numbers, but it's gonna take about a second to fly there. If that kudu gets a fright for anything, it's gonna take a step or like jump or whatever, and I'm going to shoot it in its stomach or shoot its jaw off, or I don't know, so many things can happen. Not only that, if I now have to go find where that thing was at 800 meters, look for blood, there is such a massive opportunity to wound an animal and have an animal die a brutal, slow death. I'm not into that. I hunt as ethically as I can, and I want to put animals on the ground instantly. So no. Quickest time I've ever cleaned a stage. So whether it's in a match or in practice, I've once ran the PRS barricade, so 2 shots, 2 shots, 2 shots, 2 shots, so 4 positions, 2 shots from each position, in I think 35 seconds, and I cleaned it. But again, that's on my range at a target that I shoot thousands of rounds at every year, so I'm super comfortable there. In a match, I probably wouldn't do it as fast. I'd make sure that I get every single round on target, and I'm sort of a bit more patient. I'm not pushing for speed, but even if I can do it in 35 seconds in a match, I take 2 seconds extra here and there. Now I shoot in 45 seconds. It feels like I'm doing it slow. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Do I use a tripod as rear support? This is quite interesting because I watch the National Rifle League videos that they do on YouTube. And I notice a bunch of guys in the US running tripods as rear support in positions where I wouldn't probably do it. The reason I stopped doing that, we did do that initially, okay? And for the guys that don't know how to do that, I'll have a little extract here from the Precision Rifle School. Again, it's like a shameless plug, but I actually show you guys how to do that, okay? So you can basically use your tripod when you're shooting off a barricade or something as rear support, and it basically almost turns that position into a prone position. Now, for the most part, our stages here are 90 seconds, and I find fiddling with the tripod and managing a rifle, there's quite a lot going on, so I don't do that. I also feel like it makes you a little bit of, don't take this the wrong way, but I do feel like it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, I understand the guys in the US, they're so good and you cannot drop a shot. Okay, so they need every single bit of help they can to be as steady as they can. So I completely understand that. But for us here, I can kind of get away with like no tripod and we kind of just focus on the core. So that's kind of what I do. And same reason I shoot with one bag. I could build better positions if I had more bags, fill up some cavities and things. But I like the ability of being nimble, one bag, and I can be pretty dangerous with one bag in hand. And I quite like that sort of aspect of shooting appeals to me. First or second focal plane for shooting long distances. I like shooting first focal. I've got first focal plane scopes on every single rifle that I shoot. The big reason for that is as you change your magnification, the values in your reticle changes. So they're only true at a specific given magnification. If you're somehow not on there and you're trying to do a wind hold or somebody else gives you information, you apply that information and you're shooting a second focal plane scope, the numbers might not line up and you may be way off target. So I just first focal across the board. The reticles are so clear and so crisp. It's really not, in the past there used to be this thing where if you're on max zoom on first focal, the guys would say that, you know, you're hiding the target. Well, first of all, I never shoot on max zoom, especially if the only time I'm shooting on max zoom is when I'm zeroing my rifle. Other than that, I'm at about 18, 15, the reticle's nice and visible, my target's nice and visible. I don't have to worry about which magnification I'm on. I can make adjustments on the fly should I need to. First focal all the way. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's worth the investment, trust me. What do you do to overcome nervousness? Now, this is interesting. So for those of you that played sport at school, maybe you can relate to this. Like when I played rugby, I used to be so nervous until you hit the ground, your first tackle or whatever, and then it's gone. So I kind of have that same thing, you know. People call it first stage jitters. You know, you start on your first stage and you're like a little bit extra wobbly. So if you've ever been to a match and you watch me the morning of the match, somewhere I'll slip away and literally go do sprints, okay, in like a dirt road up and down by my car. And I'll run like 50 meters as fast as I can that way and 50 meters back. That's gonna jack up my heart rate. And by the time I get to my first stage, my heart rate's come down. You know, this is like 15, 20 minutes before we start. And that has really helped me reduce that first stage jitter. So maybe you guys want to try that. You run the risk of looking like a maniac, running up and down before the match, but it has helped me. So try that at your next match. And if somebody asks, what are you doing? You should tell them they should watch this channel and maybe it works for them too. And if it doesn't work, also let me know, but it definitely works for me. Advice for dealing with Mirage within a stage. If you're shooting a suppressor, first thing I'm going to recommend is getting a Mirage cover. For the most part, I've never really dealt with Mirage when shooting a precision rifle stage because it's over pretty quickly and you're generally moving between positions. So yeah, my barrel hasn't gotten that hot ever that I'm dealing with Mirage specifically for my barrel, and I obviously shoot a Raptor brake, so there's no real Mirage coming off a silencer. Now, if you're speaking about Mirage with regards to the terrain, what's going to help a long way with that is to come off your magnification a bit, and that's going to help you cut through that Mirage a little bit. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this sort of different episode of Rapid Fire. If you want me to do more of these, thumbs up on the video, subscribe down here if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think about the new space as we're getting set up. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Have a great day. God bless every single one of you, and thank you for your support. Again, Impact to get 20% off on our Precision Rifle School. See ya!